Uh, I'm just trying to be mindful of the time. We got to finish supposed to be 6:45, right?
7,
No,
7 is okay.
7.
Today is okay. Today is okay. Today is okay. Yeah, we did the Hualien sharing, Saturday sharing last night already. So today we
so
can.
today can be slightly longer.
Slightly longer, yes.
Yeah.
All right.
No,
Okay. So suffering, with more suffering, core. And I mean, the title in itself, when I first looked at it, it's strange, but what it meant is we unknowingly, we are growing in suffering in our life. So in this initial verse, the 5 desires, and then the wealth advantage. So 5 desires, as we know what they are, from the 5, obviously 5 senses. Wealth advantage, what is this advantage that we have? It could be the influence or the power influence. This is indeed suffering. But the problem is for us, because we do not know the Dharma. Even if we know the Dharma, we do not understand or apply it. So we do not know this. Certain beings believe this brings pleasure and happily play with it. And these are the whirlwinds of happiness. The greed and attachment and pursuit are fundamentally futile. Untaxing, futile is pointless. Obviously, taxing is that put a lot of efforts to tax yourself, but at the end of the day, doesn't get you anywhere. Certain beings have insatiable greed, and that's how the economy function actually. So if you look at it, if everybody were to stop buying product, so product have to close down. So for sister cupping, the sales has gone down tremendously in Malaysia. And so they do not fear accumulation of karma. But you know, Mahatma Gandhi once said, you know, there is enough to satisfy in the world to satisfy everybody's need, but not enough to satisfy everybody's greed. And I think that's probably true. And if you now look at the amount of wastage, the food that we have to throw away is in the billions. So Master's explanation here, our thoughts are constantly creating karma in our minds. When a thought of desire arises, our greed for wealth and advantage is insatiable. So I think the problem, I think a lot of us is that, and this is actually a very big challenge for us as householder in practice. And you see, if you are in a monastic practitioner, you have all these precepts. So you only have 3 ropes. So you don't have a lot of this, which is you're sort of taking on to the environment, and you keep on to these precepts and a very clear lines that these are the things you will have to do. But for us as householders, we constantly face this in our practice. So today's teaching is very relevant to us, and because we still live the worldly life. So desire is like licking honey on a night plate, which we talked about yesterday. And we don't even know that we're cutting ourselves as a result. And wealth advantage, I was also mentioned yesterday, is like floating clouds, which is really nothing at the end of the day. Can't even get it at the end of the day. So fundamentally empty. So certain beings think that satisfying the desires bring the greatest happiness. And we also, as a result of which, we indulge in a life of extravagance. And you know, sometimes the place that I stay, I'm very fortunate that I stay where I am, and in my street, most of them are entrepreneurs, and I do travel with them occasionally, and I find it fascinating because you see, they are entrepreneurs whilst I'm not. So, and they're very Chinese speaking whilst I'm not, so a little bit different, but I try to understand their minds, and obviously a little Dharma that I know, and try to understand their way the life works. It's fascinating that everything that is mentioned here, that what they're doing, that mean that they have a lot of indulgence, but sometimes they also have wisdom too. There's some wisdom that can be learned from them, except that sometimes it's hard to get through the Dharma to them. And that is the problem with the mind. And in the mind, there's a war in there. And but because they're so rooted in worldly success, it's hard for them to discern, to understand that. And that what Master say, it's like exactly this line here. So having one people lacks 9, and this is how this lacks 9, because we keep adding another 0, right? So we have 100, we want to add another 0, we need another 900 to make it 1,000. We have a billion, we want to add another 0, and so on. So the issue is that in the process of doing this, we produce more and more, and we buy more and more, as a result which consume the resources in order to satisfy endless desires. So what about my life? Actually, my home sister would probably, I mean, she knows me more than all the people that I know, of course. And she probably can tell you that I live a very simple life. I don't even buy clothing and even shoes. And when we were during our Pak Tor time, she looked at my sandal and my shoes, and it's so horrible. The one day she actually threw away them away, and I was obviously quite annoyed with him because it was so comfortable. So she has to dress me up really. Otherwise, if you see me quite shabbily dressed. And so, but I suppose in life for us as a householder, we need to have a balance. And actually, I was like the other extreme. And I still remember when I first bought my first property, I wanted to get a housing loan, and the banker didn't really want to entertain me. And at that time, I was already going to be a partner of KPMG. That's what I was. So the result of all these things that we cannot, because we consume insatiably and to accumulate wealth. And at the end of the day, we know that we cannot take that wealth with us. And without also knowing that we also hurt the environment. And so this fully, we have to pay this debt in our next life, right? So so this debt will keep accumulating, which we do not know. And inside this burning house, the minds of sentient beings are truly foolish. So even when and this burning house now relates to the minds that we have. And we keep burning away without realizing. And obviously, like Sister Irene said just now, it's all burning inside. And so we go to this state of endless pursuit. And sometimes the force is so great that we succumb to that influence. And that's reason why that when we come to this practice, Master mentioned about the fourfold mindfulness, if you remember, that the feelings are actually in terms of suffering, and the body is impure, and the mind is impermanent, and the phenomena is without self. And all these things that we have that mindfulness with us, but sometimes when we practice, we need to have the other two sets, which is the 5 spiritual roots and the 5 spiritual strength or power. And that is the one that we need to apply, to exert that power and that effort for us to be able to practice well. So in this worldly life that we live in, there's a lot of pleasures. And all these pleasures are the distraction of our life. All these are sideshows in our life. And living happy, and it's all fun. So if I don't do that, if I don't indulge in this life, If you don't enjoy life, life will be wasted. And this is what I'm sure that you all hear a lot. Life is short, enjoy it. I'm sure that I still get a lot of come across a lot of wise saying or quotation from people. Life is short, enjoy yourself. And so because I think sometimes we do not as a purpose we're going to do those like the extreme and we indulge in a lot of these excesses. So instead of seeing feeling as suffering, they think this is joy. Instead of feeling as suffering, right? Which I mentioned that this is the second in the fourfold mindfulness. So they think this is joyful. And this is where we do not discern very well that mindfulness. So by not contemplating suffering and causation, and this is why we need to do contemplation all the time. So if you recall, I often mentioned to you all that this contemplation does not just happen at the end of the week. It should again even start. I mean, for me, I start first thing in the morning, even before Sin Fasang this morning, I do my contemplation. And what you can do, you do that at the end of the day and contemplate what you've done during the day. But for me, I seldom do it at the end of the day. But what happens is during the throughout the day, I usually do it at points of periods of contemplation that I reflect all the time so that I can address it very quickly. So we do not transform or awaken ourselves, then how can we use the Dharma to transform others? And because you have received the legacy, right? So you're taking this legacy with you, you're walking on a path. So if we do not transform ourselves, how can we transform others? And I can share with you an experience that I have. I have one Dharma brother who I travel quite a number of times, and his knowledge of Dharma it's fantastic. I mean, I learned a lot from him. But when it comes to his disposition, his character, his demeanor, it just doesn't resonate with what he knows. And this is the point about transformation. So what is it exactly that we need to transform ourselves first? And so we are waking to know about the Dharma. We need to apply the Dharma on ourselves. So we can tell by the action, by his speech, that whether someone is practicing. And this is a part that we really need to be very mindful. So worse and the master's explanation in this, that we then face suffering of hell, animal, and hungry ghost realms. And if we ascend the heavenly realm or remain the heavenly realm, they face the suffering of poverty and hardship. So, and then suffering of parting with those we love and suffering of meeting those we hate. So even if we are born in the heavenly realm, one's longevity and blessings are still limited. So imagine now we have all the merits and rebirth in the heavenly realm. And when then life ends, we are depleted of our blessings. And then we fall into the human realm, or even below that, or even the three evil realms. So you see, in the heavenly realm, as I understand it, life is long, obviously a lot longer than in the Bali realm. But that also means something, because the still longevity and blessings are still limited. You know, in a heavenly being, when they die, it takes a long time to die. And so imagine now that in the state of dying, the things wither, and the frequency, and all heavenly beings, they have a certain frequency, and they will go. So imagine that it takes such a long life, and it takes a long time to die. The body withers, the flower, the fragrance of flower, that withers, and this is what it is. So even in a state of dying, it's actually suffering. So, and then in the heavenly realm, and then we fall back in the heavenly, because we depleted all the what you call that, we depleted all the merits, and then poverty, hardship become unavoidable. So then sometimes I do get questions as to why is it that someone who is very, very rich in this life, very, very powerful, and yet they are so cruel in their own ways. Yet there are people like this exist. Of course they do, because they haven't exhausted all the merits, and that's why we can even see heavenly beings on earth. We can even see asuras on earth. So, but once all this thing exhausted, and that's where Master say poverty and hardship will arise. And this is where the cyclic existence is about. So in our personal, interpersonal relationship, we suffer from parting those we love, and we suffer from meeting those we hate. So all these many kinds of suffering constantly appear in the sutra text, and Master reminded us. So in other words, we talk about our life, our lives, clothing, food, and housing are three things we depend on. So all these things, food, clothing, and shelter. And then yes, we need all these things, and for clothing when we wear, this is a special characteristic of humans. When we don't, and animals don't do that. But these three things are critical to our lives. The problem is that I think all of us sometimes we indulge in all these things, and so what we need to do is we need to find that balance and just have what we need is sufficient. But often, I must give an example of we buy because of a label and because of a designer brand. Actually, I don't know any about. I never knew about designer brands until I came back to Malaysia. Even though my 7 years that I was in England, doing my studying there, and I was working there. You know what? I don't know a single designer brand, so that was quite embarrassing. One day, I had my father came over with some friends, and they were very one rich Indonesian family who came, and the children were very young at that time. I think I was about 20, or I was about 19 or 20 years old. I was during the summer, and so I was because they only had a day in London. I was to take them around, and I did. And the young child, probably about 13 or 14 years old, asked me to take them to Tiffany. You know what? I don't know what is Tiffany. I haven't a clue what it was. So I actually have to go and ask around my hostel mates to find out what is Tiffany and where it was, since it was in Knightsbridge. And that was my first encounter with a brand. So people want to be fashionable and satisfy their vanity, so they keep pursuing more, and that's what life is. And that is life without the Dharma. So they're both good and evil in this world, as you know, and Master said they should be evenly matched. But the problem is there seems to be more evil than good right now. And you know what? This particular line in here, what it means is that we are in this age of darkness, and in this Dharma declining age, and you see this happening. And I think you don't have to look very far. You look at what's happening right now in this world today. You look at what's happening in this country, and so on and so forth. You can see all these things around right now. So for us, that because we are in a path, we have to grow the light in ourselves and in others. So at the end of the day, after we die, we will return back. You see, life is not life is not permanent, so we die. So is death. Death also has to end. So when the death ends, we return. And when we return, when we have to repay our karmic debts, we have to learn karmic lessons, we have to fulfill karmic responsibility. So therefore, we need to be mindful of our thoughts, so that in this period of life that we have, we are able to deal with all these three karmas. So in contemplation, so just to provoke your mind a bit, if life is suffering, then death must be a relief, right? Death opens, but the problem is death opens the door to another life, because death is not permanent. There's also end of death. So death opens the door to another life. That cannot be better than this if one continues in ignorant ways. So death is not a panacea to suffering, but an inferno of suffering. And we want to know we can go down to the evil realms if you're not in practice. Therefore, life must therefore have a purpose. There are many purposes in life, but what is your ultimate purpose of life? Is to walk this path and to change yourself. So true is suffering that comes with a beholden karma. So life has a purpose, suffering also has a purpose. And that comes with the beholden karma, which is the 3 karmas that we just spoke about. So as one who practices the path, wise up to your life to learn and grow in virtues so that you can progress in your cultivation. So on relationship, you cannot avoid the world, and the world will not avoid you. So karmic cause must be settled. Remember that karma never forgets an address. Okay, Gan En brothers and sisters, that's all I have today. Thank you.
Gan En so much, Dr. Chin, for your wonderful and marvelous sharing. Yeah.